question I get from almost every business owner I work with is some version of this. Where do I even start with AI? And the reason it's hard to answer is that it's the wrong question. It's too open. Where do I start with AI is like asking, where do I start with software? The answer is it depends entirely on your situation. The better question, and the one that actually leads somewhere, is where in your business right now is slow, manual, expensive, or inconsistent? That's where AI belongs. Not everywhere and not nowhere. Specifically, where you have a real pain point that AI can address. That's what this video is about. A practical way to figure it out for your specific situation. Not a general overview of AI capabilities, a process you can actually run with your business today. I'm Andrew Mudd. I run Mudd Ventures. I do AI implementation for business owners, and I've been doing this inside real operations since early 2023. Let's get right into it. Most businesses that struggle with AI adoption did one of two things. They either tried to use AI for everything at once, bought a bunch of tools, built out a stack, spent money on subscriptions, and ended up with a lot of half implemented things that nobody on their team actually uses consistently. Or they went the opposite direction. They dabbled, they used ChatGPT to write an email or two, and it was fine. And they moved on thinking they tried AI and it was really not that big of a deal. Neither of those is real implementation. One is a bunch of unorganized chaos, and the other is a test drive that proves nothing. What actually works is targeted adoption. You find one specific thing in your business that's causing a real operational problem. You test AI against that thing specifically. You see if it solves it. And if it does, you build from there. The businesses I've seen get real return from AI found one bottleneck, solved it, built confidence into the process, and then expanded, not the other way around. Meaning they really learned how AI was doing the process. They didn't just set it and forget it and say handle it and not know what's going on in the back end. They really understand it. The first step isn't what AI tool should I use, it's figuring out what the bottleneck actually is. 3 questions, run through these for your business, write down the honest answers, and by the end, you'll have a short list of candidates for where AI belongs in your business today. Question 1. What takes the most time in your business relative to the value it produces? This is a time to ROI ratio. Not what's the hardest, not what's the most stressful, but what takes the most time in proportion to what it actually produces in value. For a lot of service businesses, this is some combination of proposal and scope writing, email follow-up and client communication, research and briefing for client deliverables, reporting, and internal documentation. These are high volume, repeatable, language-based tasks, and that's exactly what AI is good at. Not because AI is magic, but because these tasks have a consistent enough structure that you can build a reliable process around. Write down your 2 to 3 biggest time drains, not everything that's going on in your day, but the top 2 to 3 that you see consistent. Question 2. Where in your business do you have inconsistency that costs you? This is different from the time question. This is about quality variance. Where are you getting different outputs depending on who does the work, how much time they had, or how they were feeling that day? These are things like sales calls that go really differently depending on who ran them, client onboarding that's thorough when one person does it and incomplete when someone else does it, proposals that are sharp sometimes and thin other times depending on who's there. Inconsistency costs you in rework, in reputation, and in client outcomes. And AI can help standardize certain outputs in a way that removes the variance. It doesn't replace the people doing the work. It just standardizes the structure, the checklist, and the starting point. So where in your operation do you see meaningful inconsistency? Lastly, question 3. Where are you doing work that has already been done before repeatedly? This is the hardest one to see clearly because repetition becomes invisible when you're the one inside it. So where are you creating something from scratch that you've created dozens of times before in a slightly different form? So SOPs that each get rewritten slightly differently, onboarding docs that each start from a blank page, meeting summaries that are done by hand every week, research briefs on companies or topics that follow a consistent structure. Anywhere you have reoccurring work with consistent shape, there isn't opportunity for AI as a use case. Not always an obvious one, but there usually is one. So write down two or three of these, then you have a starting list. By now, you should have 6 to 9 things on your list across those three questions. And the next step is ranking them. And here's how I do it. It's across 4 factors. First, volume. So, how often does this task actually happen? A task that happens daily or weekly is a much better AI target than one that happens twice a year. Frequency matters because that's how you see the ROI compound from the tools. Second, repeatability. How consistent is the structure of this task? If every instance looks roughly the same and you could write down the steps, that's a high repeatability score. If every instance is genuinely unique and requires judgment, that's a lower score. And AI works on structure. Third, risk. What happens if the AI output is wrong or incomplete? Some tasks have a low cost of error. You review the output, catch the mistake, fix it. Other tasks, if the AI gets it wrong, it has real problems. So start with low risk tasks. High stakes work gets added later with more oversight built in. Ownership. So who does this task right now and how would they feel about AI being a part of it? This is the least technical factor and is often the most overlooked. If the person who owns a task sees AI as a threat, you will get resistance. If they see it as relief from the part of their job that they hate most, you'll get buy-in. Implementation that doesn't account for the human element fails more often than the tool itself. Side note, I had a setter team that we worked with last year and we tried to implement an AI voice agent. They hated it because it was infringing on their shit. Anyways, so what you need to do is take your 6 to 9 tasks, score each one across those 4 factors, even informally. That's okay. It doesn't have to be some crazy structured list. The ones with high volume, high repeatability, low risk, and willing owners are your starting. So I've been doing this long enough to have seen what good AI adoption looks like after a year versus what stalled adoption looks like. And the difference is usually visible at the 6 month. The businesses that got real traction from AI had a few things in common generally. They started narrow. So one task, they proved it, then added the next one. They didn't try to build the whole stack all at once. And in the process of becoming an AI first business, you'll hear people say that you have to transition everything AI. You can't just dip your toe in. This is kind of true, but you have to do it in stages. This is the intelligent, smart way to do it. Because if you just change everything overnight and it breaks, your business breaks. And that's where the risk comes in. So they built a process around it, not just use this tool, but an actual process. Here's the input. Here's how you run it. Here's what you check before you use the output. Here's where it lives. And this is a process that you can then hand off. And they treated the first version as a starting point, not the end solution. The first time you use AI on a task, the output will be okay and have that expectation. The 10th time, once you've refined the outputs in the process, it will be significantly better. Most businesses underinvest in iteration when it comes to working with AI. The businesses that stalled had the opposite pattern. They bought tools before they identified problems. They added AI to tasks that were already broken or unclear, and they set it up once, got a mediocre result because they didn't define it properly, and stopped. AI doesn't fix a broken process. Let's just make that clear. It amplifies the processes you already have. If the process is good, AI makes it faster and more consistent. If the process sucks, AI makes it suck even more. This is the most important thing I can tell you about where AI belongs in your business. All right, so 4 steps. Take the top tasks from your list and run this. One, write down what the task looks like when it's done well. Before you bring AI in, describe what a high quality output looks like to you, your preferences. This becomes your evaluation standard. And if you can't write down what good looks like to you, you are not qualified to evaluate whether AI is good or not, unfortunately. 2, draft a starting prompt. So take the inputs you'd normally use for this task and give them to AI with clear instructions. Don't overthink the first version. It's a starting point. Just slap it all in there and see what you get. 3, Run 5 examples back to back, not one example, 5 examples. You need enough samples to see the pattern and what works and what needs adjustments. 4, note what you had to fix. After those 5 examples, write down what you changed or corrected, and those notes become your prompt refinements. Run 5 more, and that second round will be meaningfully better than the first. Guaranteed. That's the whole test. And at the end of 10 runs, you will know whether this task has a real AI use case for your business and you have an early version of a process you can improve on or hand off. If it sucks, try again. That's the whole framework. 3 diagnostic questions to find your candidates, 4 factors to rank them, and a 10-run test to validate your first one. Most businesses have more AI use cases than they realize and fewer good starting points than they think. This audit gives you both of those things. If you want to work through this for your specific situation in your business, I will have a link to book a call down below. I do this with business owners every day. Subscribe if you want the implementation breakdowns regularly and you just want to stay up to date on everything AI that I have to bring you. I will have the link to the Abra AI WAP community in the description below. And I'll also have a link to our daily newsletter. So sign up for any of those. We want to have you in the community. We need more people in the community across the board, newsletter, YouTube, WAP, wherever it is. We want you involved. And so I'll leave it there. Subscribe, like, comment things that you need to know about when it comes to AI in your business. I want to make videos specific about what you guys need out of AI so that way they're relevant to you. And I'm not just making videos that are only interesting to me. So I'll see you guys in the next video, which will be extremely soon. Peace.